Good evening all. Could do with an audio report. I've been working on the audio this week. As far as level, I usually get complaints about it being level 11, but it should be reasonably 9.5. Oh, that's good. Yeah, and the noise has gone. Yeah, that's what I was aiming at, Rob. That was an earth loop. I've actually soldered a tie wire to get rid of the earth loop. Right, good evening all. I have 7JTT in the order, so John, you're on first. G0MJW.
No, I haven't, because I'd turned the sound off. Right, now I've got sound. Good. Hopefully that's working. Let me mute myself to stop me confusing everything. Evening, everybody. Nice to have you on. Slightly by surprise, I'm having some difficulty with how an antenna and how you measure things in terms of X and Y are, so I'll just go back to that in a minute, but that has put me out of kilter. Who am I talking to next? Martin as well. Ah, that's useful. So Martin, one of the things that you may be interested in, or maybe not, is I finished the hacker. Here it is. Let's find a suitable camera, the C920. Give you a close-up. Almost looks like an original, doesn't it? Not quite, but near enough. I've plugged in an external antenna at the moment because I don't get anything in here and I need to make an active antenna for shortwave. But here it is working. See if I can show the screen. We're on 80 meters at the moment. There's a few signals here and there. That is not trying to get rid of the reflection, not doing very well at it. So that's what it's like on 80 meters, but it does other things as well. Of course, you spend most of the time on things like 6 meters or 4 meters or VHF FM or Radio 4 Longwave that I was listening to earlier on with my active antenna. So that's it, completed. So that's the main piece of work done in the last week. I'll turn it off now to save the battery. Oh, I should have said it was battery powered. So it's running off a single 18650 cell, which seems to last about 4 hours, which is not ideal, but it's not bad. It's taking 300 milliamps, so it's the cell's not got the capacity I thought it had rather than the other thing. And the yellow labels now are temporary, waiting for me to do something a bit more sensible. But I only had the yellow tape. It's all Colin's fault, actually. I went and bought a whole load of tape and it was yellow. What I want is the white on clear, but I haven't got any of that. So I'll do something. I tried 3D printing labels, but that really didn't work. It wasn't good enough resolution. I might even get round. Right, that's enough about that. So who is it next? It's Martin, isn't it? Right, G4FKK, over to you. And tell me what's wrong with my test card. G0MJW.
Ah. Well, it looked like a perfectly lovely test card to me. Let me just fiddle about with this. Right, good evening all. And yeah, but apart from the fact that it looked like the frequency grids rate things were the wrong way round, it looked fine to me, Mike, but then I'm a radio person, not a TV person. Yeah, the hacker. I have forgiven you everything, Mike. That looks brilliant. It's superb, and 80 meters coming through as well. What more could you want? As long as you can still get the test match special, that's all you need, isn't it? Okay, about the low band contest, Dave. Gareth and I have we're going to attempt some some coverage on 4 meters, and I might be able to persuade Alan TQK to pop up on 2 meters as well locally here. So that's the idea. John, good evening to you. I still need another dB or so from you. It's not your fault. It's my weedy receive setup here. Although I was copying stations weaker than you earlier, but there were less people on the transponder. And the noise controller, or the noise cancelling, was absolutely amazing, John. Very impressed. How times have moved on. Well, I've not done a great deal on the ATV front this week. I've been fiddling about with a mini tuner. I wonder if that's oh, it's working. Trying to work out the best way of getting the mini tuner. Oh, that didn't work. It was working. Let's put it back there. Getting the mini tuner onto the screen. I don't think this will work either. Let's now. Put it back there. So I've been playing about with that, not successfully as you can see, not in the long term. I've been working on my automatic, high power automatic matching unit, so I'm testing stepper motors, big old capacitors and things, and it's all currently lashed up on an Arduino and a little controller board. So the shack bench is in even worse state than it was last week. I won't show you the video of my relay driven automatic matching unit again, because I think you all saw that last week. So nothing much else to report, so I'll put it round to you, Jim. Trust you're okay, and I wonder if you managed that picture you showed me of the burnt out tracks on the amplifier. I wonder if that took the transistors out as well, or whether it was just the board, just in inverted commas. Be interested in that, Jim. So back onto the G7NTG G4 Fox King over.
Right, just make sure I'm going to get some sound. Thank you, Martin. Right, just turn the sound, just mute the sound. There we go, that's better. Right, in answer to your first question, no, it didn't blow the devices. They made a very good arc welder. And I've had a couple do similar things, and it's down to damage on the track, or dirt between the track and the earth, or sharp edges where I've cut a track back, and of course you get a corona discharge, don't you? And you don't do that with them. You've got to keep everything spotlessly clean and don't damage the board with a scalpel or anything like that. I think that's probably the answer. Transistors still work fine. Tap off the power further on. You don't get so much power out, but they still both work. So, because I'm getting into the matching section, there's a matching section of track that's twice the width of the 50 ohm track, and I'm halfway up that before I can find a bit I can solder to after I've cleaned everything up. But it's only ever happened with those boards, so great care is needed with soldering, I think. So there you go. Right, I sympathise with you, John, on the new PC software and having to reload everything from scratch. It takes forever. It really does. It goes on and on and on, and you keep forgetting things that you should have loaded, and you have to go and find passwords and everything for that. Awful. And oh, I do like that hacker. That's really nice. That looks really good. I'm tempted to try something like that myself. That looks really good. Nothing wrong with the yellow labels. I use them on all my stuff. I can't think of anything better. I wanted to use white on clear,
but I could never find any. Couldn't find white on clear tape. It's all black on clear, which is not a lot of good really to me. It means I've got to paint all the panels light colour. And what I've been doing, I built a mini tuner today to put back in my Ryde receiver, because I'd taken the other one out and sent that off to somebody else who wanted one. So I built a new one myself today, and that worked instantly first time, no problem at all. So that's very good. I also bought myself a new soldering iron for these heavy PCB jobs, and it's a beast. Look at the size of that thing. That's a foot long, it weighs a ton, 200 watts, but it's really excellent. It doesn't take long to heat up, and you can solder 2 bits of quarter copper plate together with it. It's that good. I'm very, very pleased with that. Anyway, right, that's enough from me, so I think it'll be round to Gareth now. So I'm going to say G4XAT from G7NTG on the net, to make sure. On the net.
Right, there we go. That all looks good. Evening everybody, thanks Jim. G4XAT from G7NTG. I've had a variously constructive week. The best thing I think is my mini Ryde, which I've managed to get boxed up, and I'm using that as the Shack RX. It's designed to run off 12 volts, so I can go portable with it and not have to worry about necessarily having a laptop to run the mini tuner. I've also been lucky, I think, in acquiring some of these. They are wideband linear amplifiers, and they're rated from 10 to 400 meg, 22 dB of gain, with a 1.5 watts out at 1 dB compression. Now, I've used one of the same family on 2 meters previously, and it's proven to be robust. I know Noel bought a similar one for use on 50, and he wasn't very impressed with it, but fingers crossed. They weren't very expensive. They're essentially an obsolete part, but they're very high spec. They're designed for anything that requires low noise, low distortion and linear amplification. I think they were CCTV distribution amps or something. Anyway, what else we got? I've done a bit of work on this power supply. It's a bit of a beast. I picked it up for 50 quid. It's nominally 0 to 60 volts and 0 to 20 amps. It's switch mode, and the idea is to have a range of switchable presets on the front panel, so that I can operate those at will, I suppose. The amplifier power supply monitoring gadget is working very nicely. I don't know what's going up the spout, but that's what the amp's using. 10 amps nearly and 32 volts. So that's going okay. Right, I haven't got Zoom, but I can do this. Whether you find that an acceptable alternative or not, I don't know. And with that, round to the next lucky incumbent. So M0DTF to pick it up from G4.
Right then, hope that's okay. Is there any sound? Oh, oh, it's quite a delay, that's why. Okay, yeah, we got that now. Yep, evening everyone. M0DTS. Right, so, yeah, some good stuff going on, isn't there? I didn't catch the first bit there with you, John. Was that an OBS thing where you were doing them effects and the noise cancelling things, or was that in something else? I think that must be when I just nipped out the shack, so didn't quite catch that. Yeah, you're doing good job on the hacker, Mike. That's looking really good. It's, yeah, another one. That's me as well, thinking could I have a go at that? That would be quite nice. Be nice to make my own little version to say I made that, but who's going to have the time to do that? The SDR bit, that is. Do we go down the show and tell with soldering irons now? No, I'm not going to. Yeah, I need to get one of them, Jim. We've got some in the shed, but I've never actually brought one in the shack. There's quite a few in the shed. Yeah, I need to get one in here. So I've only got a little 50-watt thing, and it soldering on to coaxes onto circuit boards, which I have been doing this week, is a bit of a pain to do. So yeah, could do with something a bit bigger now and again. Yeah, it looks like a lovely PSU. That I've forgotten your name now, Gareth. Yeah, it looks really, really nice. Good eBay buy by the sounds of things. I would imagine. Maybe not, but yeah. Well, I'm on my 5th day of 6 days off work because I had a couple of days extra. I normally work 4 on 4 off, so I had a couple of days extra I'm using, which is carried over from last year. I've got to use before the end of March, so a few days. But I haven't actually done a great deal, to be honest. Been working on this 2-meter amp, which is progressing. So show a little bit of that. So if I go to, so there's the inside of the amp now. It's sort of progressing. It's not finished yet, but there's the inside of the amp. Got the amp built up. There's a transfer relay at the top there, which is basically amplify or bypass. I've only got one power supply coming into the box, which is 50 volts. So I've added 2 transistor regulators there with some Zenas just to provide 24 volts at a half an amp or so, and then 12 volts at 300 milliamps for various other bits and pieces like the Arduino controller and stuff like that. The 24 volts powers the relay and the fan, which is just to the right hand side there. And I've modded on, well, you see, that's an earlier picture, that one. But I've also added on a PTT circuit for the amplifier because it doesn't actually have one. I'll just put 50 volts on and the bias comes on. So there's that. So I also did a few tests with it. So there's a thermal image of the amp when I'm running about 140 watts for 10 minutes. So the device at the right hand side of that is running at about somewhere between about 53, 54 degrees, somewhere in that region on the heatsink. The hottest parts down the bottom is where there was originally a resistor, a drop resistor from 50 volts down to 12 with a Zener, and there's a little tiny surface mount resistor just above it. It was getting rather hot, about 60 odd degrees, so we've got a different solution for both of them now. The 12 volts comes from the other regulator and things, so bit of improvement there. But that's slightly air cooled. There's a little tiny fan I put to the left hand side. I was blowing across the low pass filter on the output. You can see a slightly warm patch between the 2 coils on the left hand side. That was getting a bit warm, that capacitor. But a little 40mm fan on the left hand side, just blowing a bit of air across the board, keeps it nice and cool. So that was quite good. So yeah, so If I just go to the other webcam. There we go. So that's what we've got now anyway. So I've got a little board at the bottom. Where we at? The Arduino is going to go down the bottom there. I've got some power leads coming in and going out to the feed through on the back. On the right hand side of the amp board there's a little bit of circuit board tagged on there with a couple of transistors to basically pull down the bias voltage as a PTT function. And there's a couple of transistor switches on a little board hanging off underneath the regulators to switch on the relay and the fan that will drive from the Arduino. So yeah, progress. I didn't add the other picture in. I'll do one more picture if I can get that one. Apologies, I didn't load that one in. Why did I not load that one? Ooh, why has it done that? That's a bit strange. I must have I must have put that in the I must have took that picture with the camera the wrong way up. Hang on. Transform, flip. I'll get there yet. There we go. So that's about 40 watts of digital TV on 146.5. So yeah, you've got about 55 dB shoulders on that, so it works pretty well. But that was at about just over an amp of bias on the amplifier. So it can generate some nice clean TV for 10 watts at 146.5. You don't even see the shoulders unless you sort of back the attenuation off on the analyzer. They're down at 60 odd dB, so very, very clean. Not very efficient, but very clean. So there we are. That's what I've been working on. So there we go. The QRP version. Good question. NVIDIA broadcast. Okay, thanks, John. Yeah, it probably is the QRP version. It's the 300 watt one, or thereabouts. I've run it up to just over 200, maybe 250. My power meter only goes up to just over 200 now. So there we go. For CX250. Yeah, I still haven't done any valves, James. Not at all. Haven't got there yet. One day maybe. Right. Yep. Okay. Right. So I think that's around 2 joules now. G0NZO, M0DTS, and the BATC Net.
Right, let's see if that comes up. Oh, naughty boy, naughty boy. 3 dBs over again. So, mute the audio, otherwise I'll be interrupting stuff. But I have actually got audio. So, yeah, I've put OBS on the laptop. I tried it last week, whilst the net was going on, and I couldn't get any audio out of it, so I seem to have done it now. I don't know what I've done. I've been clicking lots of things at random. I'm now getting audio. But I was using the phone with Larix as an application. That was my transport stream generator. But a couple of weeks ago, I rejigged all the networks at home, and basically the Wi-Fi that the phone was on was no longer on the same subnet as the Pluto, so I couldn't I couldn't get anything working. If I'd have gone down the end of the garden, then I could have got the Wi-Fi down the end of the garden, but then I wouldn't be in the shack. So I've got OBS working, so you're looking at me on the crappy little camera in the laptop, so you're stuck with it. Not done a great deal radio-wise, to be perfectly honest. I've got the Pi. I'm trying to wire a Pi camera to it. and I want it remote. So I bought a couple of those little boards, God, it must be a year ago, that let you extend the Pi camera with HDMI cable. So there was a bit of a posting on the forum. So Dave put me onto some pictures on one of the wiki pages, showing me how to get the flexes connected up. Because I was basically, I didn't know which direction they got to be, and whether there got to be any flip overs in them, and which side the actual pins were. Because you look in the connectors, and they seem to have connectors on both sides, but the ribbons only got connected on one side. So anyway, I think I have got the ribbons connected up. I've tried all the HDMI leads I've got, and none of them work. I've even done the little mods to the board. There's a ground pin mod, and there's another little link you've got to put across. Done those. Still can't get any of the HDMIs to work. So I don't know if it's something I've done, or whether it's just cheap, rubbish HDMIs. If anybody knows of a source of known good HDMIs that work with those little adapter boards, then let me know, and I'll get one ordered and give it a try. Connected the camera directly up to the Flexi to the Pi, that works fine, without the unless if I'm using it with the HDMI adapters, I can't get anything through, so it could still be finger problem. But once I've got that done, I can get the Pi mounted back in its box and carry on. I also managed to get the EasyCap to work with the Pi, and that was an odd one. It wouldn't work with any of the hubs, any of the extender cables, only by plugging the adapter the EasyCap directly into the Pi could I get anything. And only on one of them, I've got two identical devices, and only one will actually give anything out. But it's always possible I've got a duff one, which is possibly why I've got two of them. I might have found this in the past and bought another one, but I mean they've been in my drawer for 8, maybe 10 years. So yeah. Only other thing I could think of was there was all the discussion last week about using remote control for controlling bits of RF kit. These are what I use. If you can see, it's just about lighting up there from the screen illumination. That's an Ethernet connected card. So you can talk to it on Telnet, or it'll serve out a web page. I just let it use the web page. And you can control any of those 8 relays. It's also got, if you look at the bottom, it's got some inputs as well. Not actually worked out how you use those. According to the Chinese translation for these boards, for the manual, what you should be able to do is either read the inputs, which I assume you do over Telnet because the web page has no indication of input status. The other thing you should be able to do is actually point to these cards at each other, and you can set some mapping up so the input on one can reflect through to the relays on another. So without having to have any PCs in the way, you can just use these remote controls, have a line of switches and click them, and the relays click at the other end. And similar with the Telvac. But I just use these for switching relays and things. So at the moment there's 2 of these down in the shed. That's a spare one I was going to wire up. But they're quite good. I've had these about 3 or 4 years. So I assume they're still about. But yeah, they're quite good. Good thing is I don't actually have to be if I feed the transport stream over a tunnel into the house, connect to those boards just using the little web application, and click various things to turn power supplies and relays on and off. Theoretically, I should be able to stream video from anywhere, which interesting. I'll do it one day. I can do it from the garden, so if I can do it from the garden, I assume I can do it from anywhere. That's about it from me. Otherwise, I've been building civil stuff rather than electronic stuff. Building a compressor, little extension to the garage to put the compressor in, because I keep tripping up in the garage. It's just in the way. Other thing I did find whilst I was clearing out or tidying stuff up, I found my filter for 2-meter digital TV, which is one of these things that were on eBay at one point for about 20-30 quid. Tuned either 143 or 150 odd meg, and then basically it's just 5 cavities with quarter wave lines in, and that tunes up quite nicely. And I've got the 3 dB. I've got 600 kilohertz, and the loss is not too bad, -2 dB of loss. So. And if you're looking on the spec hand, it's almost a beautiful flat down. I don't know if there's any ripple or any sort of phase issues in the pass band, but it's looking at on the spec hand, it seems quite clean. So all I've got to do now is sort out the receive side. I've got transmit, I've got a PA, nowhere near as big as Rob's. It's one of the little 60 watt Mitsubishi modules, and that's good for about 7 watts before it starts introducing any extra shoulders. But don't know where Rob's getting his drive from, because on my line the best I can get is about meg 45, and that's just straight out the line itself. So trying to get to the target for 2 meters I think is a bit of a challenge. Right, I shall pass it on round. G0NZO. Put in 2.5 dB more than we should. Bad boy.
I can compete with Jules on power, but I won't. Let's turn that one down. Let's just turn it up enough so everybody can see me. 3-meter dish, yes, can't quite manage that. Okay, all very interesting stuff. Hacker certainly looks like a good project, Mike. Soldering iron, I've got an old Weller, this fella here, but can also an 800 degree bit in it, a big one, and that's generally good enough for the bigger jobs. That power supply unit certainly looks good, Gareth. I got in the post this week, literally in the post, this fella. I've taken the lid off it. It's one of the 27.2 volt power supplies. Currently doing some work on it, trying to get it up to 28, but that came in the post this week. But that is going to be fixed voltage at 28. 2-meter PA looks lovely, Rob. I'm looking at what I use for low band PAs at the moment. Jules, on the HDMI extension, my one suggestion to you would be to do a multimeter check from end to end. That's probably the only way you're going to sort it out. And I've found the cheapest HDMI leads are the best. Hang on, let's make sure I have got audio. Yeah, I have got audio. Steve, I think you need to reset your, press the reset button on Minitune. I am sending it 12, yes. Do a multimeter check on the HDMI lead, Jules, and across the pins on the contacts on the ribbon cable. And I found the cheapest HDMI leads are the best. The ones that work really well were the £1 ones I got from Poundland. I will sort out the audio on the streamer after my over. Right, what have I been up to? Well, a fairly productive week actually. I've done a development software release for Portsdown 2020, which provides DVB-T capability with the Lime. So Lime SDR can transmit DVB-T only on Portsdown 2020. That's a development release out at the moment. And Mike, MJW, I'd be useful if you could test it on your LimeNet micro. I'd just like to see whether that works. But it should work properly on a LimeNet micro and give you DVB-T. I've rebuilt my Linux desktop PC. It's now got Ubuntu 20.04 on it, and loaded all the software for the Glasgow interface analyzer, and got that working. I haven't used it for anything useful, but that's all ready to go. Today I put a 50 megs dipole in the loft, so Noel, I'd like to do some FM tests with you sometime, and perhaps some TV at the weekend. I've also repaired a Portsdown 2020. I had one where the output device on the filter modulator board had blown. And today's joy was programming 8-band switch 8-band switch picks for the BATC shop. They'll be in the post to you tomorrow, Noel. Is that news since the weekend? Yeah, Sunday night, I think, I did a development release, Mike, on the Portsdown, in answer to your question. Right, 8:45, lots of people on. It's really good to see all the interesting stuff. So hopefully get some low band activity on 50 and 70 megs this weekend. And I might even get active on 50 megs. I've got a 50 megs FM receiver here, which I was given, FM transceiver, an AKD 6001. So I'll have a play with that. Back round to John, G7JTT, and the group G8GKQ.
You were right the first time, John. It's G0, not M0. Anyway, hopefully the latency's not building up too much. Good, that's working. Although the video is taking a long time to lock on the Ryde, so sorry about that. I'll fix the test card back to what it was. So the only thing really that's new is this board that came from Gareth. C920 is so annoying at times. Which arrived today. There's two of them. And yeah, it's a very nice looking board. The only thing that is a problem is the getting the capacitors. It seems to be pretty hard to get hold of the suitable ATC caps. So I think we're going to use normal capacitors on the input side because it really doesn't need ATC caps on the input side, and try and find a way to get some 1 nanofarad capacitors. Dutch RF shop have all the bits, but they've got €16 postage, which is a lot for ATC caps if you only want 1 or 2 or 6 or 7. But the other problem is they're adding Dutch VAT and they're not taking it off, and I sent them an email saying, can you fix that, and I've not heard back, so we'll wait and see. But it might well be another one that is no longer available to us. I got an email today from Prusa, who provide 3D printers, and they're now supplying to the UK again with the VAT taken off, so at least that's something. Yeah, so that's where we are. Just get it to reboot. It takes a bit longer to turn on than the old one. Maybe not the valve ones, but it's now doing it.
Is that we've had a
works really well.
Redistribution in lockdown.
And it's the speaker that makes the big difference, I think. The big 8-inch oval loudspeaker. I just tried this as well. You can't see this without that from that camera, so let's transition to that one. This is something I picked up at a rally for about a tenner, I think. It's a Miracle Whip. I think that's because it's a miracle if it works. But what it is it's a coil and a whip. And it does actually tune to some extent and gets around the impedance mismatch problem. But the next task anyway is to build a active antenna to put inside it, so that I can solve the problem of not really being able to receive shortwave on this little whippy thing. When I plug it into my my loop, I've got a loop in the bottom of the garden for HF reception. It's a 1 meter loop, actually 2 at 90 degrees to each other, which I can switch between. And it works really well on there, all the way from long wave up to about 100 megs when the loop no longer is operating above there. So it works really well. So I've been listening to Gold, which is a radio station. I've got to work out where it is, because I don't think it's very close to me, because it's pretty weak, but it's on medium wave. Anyway, you get sick of that after a while, but you're right, 1967 was a good year. The year they were specialising in this time was 1963. I was not around in 1963, so I don't remember it, but I was around in 1967, and a bit before, actually. Quite a bit before. Okay, I don't think there's much else to add. Power supplies, very interesting. Hopefully you can modify the one that we were talking about via email, Dave, and you should get 28 volts out of that. The one you were showing is not the same one, as far as I could tell. The other thing that arrived this week was another of the LTEC power supplies, the 3 kilowatt version, which came via UK microwaves. So that's good. I've now got 3 of those. So I've got ones up in Bolton at the moment, powering the PA for QA100. There's one here and there's another one to have a case built for it. But that means I've now got a number of surplus 50 volt, 1.8 kilowatt or similar sort of supplies that are somewhat bigger, but they still work. So I might get rid of some of those. So people might be interested or not, I don't know, but I'm not going to do any advertising here. Right, let's put back the annoying test card and say 7.3 to everyone. And sorry, I've not been looking at the chat, so because it stopped scrolling for some reason. Free sample service, yes, I could try that, but I'm not sure. They really give me free samples of quite as many as I need. I think I need 6, or no, 12, because I've got 2 boards, 12 1 nanofarad ATC 100B 500 volt capacitors. So that's a lot. And Massa are selling them for £5 each, so they're unaffordable. Dutch RF shop, they're €2, so they're much better. Right, let's go back to the test card and the tone. 7th.
Okay, I was ready for you there, Mike. So I was able to keep the speakers on their shelves. Right, let's try and get this working again. There we go. All very interesting from everybody, and yeah, Gareth's found a source of most of the ATCs in Horsham, Mike, and I think he's selling them for about £1 each, isn't he, Gareth, from memory? Jim, yes, I managed to do some arc welding on my 2-device amplifier, not the one with the dash 160s in, but with the D types, and I did it because I was overdriving it, and I must have had a sharp edge somewhere. But it's hard work, isn't it, scraping all the carbon out of the out of the board. Luckily, I didn't burn quite as much track as you did, and the soldering iron's wonderful. We're doing soldering irons obviously tonight, so there's my Weller, Dave, and I've got a couple of 800 degree bits as well, so they're good. I guess you could use your 1-foot soldering iron for removing things like isolators and circulators off those boards, Jim. Perhaps that's why you got it. I didn't realise that power supply was that big, Gareth, when you were talking about it this morning. That's amazingly good. And Rob, my 2-meter amplifier, I think, must use a similar, if not the same device as you're using in your amplificator. I can't remember what it is offhand. It's I put it in this box which used to be a Tono 150 watt amplifier. That's now a 2-meter 300 watt amplifier, and with a reasonably large fan on the top. The heatsink looks quite big, and in fact it's the same sort of length and width as the ones on the 2.4 gig amplifier, Jim, but it's very thin, so it does get quite hot. My 300 watt 6 and 4 meter amplifier is in what used to be a Mirage B1016 2-meter amplifier, and that heatsink is much better. Anyway, oh, and Mike, while I think of it, your Miracle Whip, I remember when they came out thinking, that's just another joystick, isn't it? Probably work quite well with a bit of feeder, but here's a good thing. This here is a base-loaded top band whip for my old top band handheld that I used to take to rallies and things in my youth. And it's actually, because we only ran about a watt or two on the handhelds, the coil is 1mm diameter copper wire wound around a ferrite rod, which at a watt or two doesn't saturate. And you'll notice the tuning device there, you might notice that. That's a little neon, and when you've got it right, it strikes. So have to try that out on your Malachite hacker there. And Rob, yeah, I've run about I think I've managed to get 40 or 50 watts out of my 2-meter amplifier before I got worried about it overheating. And it was pretty clean as well, so that looked very good. Your 55 dB shoulders, neg 55. Well, actually they were 55 dBs when you first showed the picture. Jules, I wonder what those who makes those relay cards, the network enabled ones. I used to have some cards here made by Netiom, or they were called Netiom. That was years and years ago, and they were really good. And they had inputs as well, which was quite handy, I seem to remember. Oh yeah, and Dave, since we're comparing soldering irons, I've got a somewhere over here. Come here. Oh, it doesn't want to come out. This is a Garex 4001, which is pretty much the same as your 6-meter FM transceiver, but for 4 meters. It doesn't get used much these days. I've got a homemade transverter for that sort of thing these days. And Mike, extremely bad news if the Dutch RF shop have become unusable for us. That's another reason we shouldn't have done that, really. And gold. I wonder if gold. I used to. I did some what they call swing jocking for a network of stations called Classic Gold Digital, which, despite the name, was actually on medium wave. So I used to be a disc jockey on that bait. So I wonder if that's the same, or the remnants of that group. It all got dissolved some years ago. Oh, someone on 2 meters. Right, I think that's enough waffle for me. Great to see everyone on. Thanks for running the net, Dave, and 73 to everyone. And it's round to you, Jim. G7NTG, G4FKK.
Just hang on a minute, see if we get better sound this time. Yeah, I'm using a C920 webcam, so not very good sound, I'm afraid. Yeah, talking soldering irons, I have got a few. They're all Wellers. This one's 25 watt for the SMD stuff. That is brilliant. Then I've got one like about the same size as the others you've got. That's a 50 watt, and that's variable temperature. They're both variable temperature. Just wind them up and down with the power supply, and you can see the difference. They're when I offer this one against them, you can see how silly it is. It's a monster. Got to come back so you can see it. I'm getting tangled up here. Handheld, eh? That's fantastic. That is amazing. Goes back a while, doesn't it? Yeah. Right. I'm just having a look down here. Yes, as Mike said, that big one is just the job for SMD work, I think. Very nice. 28 volts from a power supply from the 27.2. It's actually usually quite easy. You just find the feedback resistors and adjust one of them. And what I did was did it by substitution, or just strapping a 10k resistor across one of the feedback resistors and see whether the voltage goes up or down, and then replace it with a preset. That seemed to work all right. Pi camera HDMI cables, yes, notoriously bad, some of them. Some of them aren't fully populated. So there's a little modification you can do to the boards, the HDMI adapter boards that go to the ribbon cables. You have to solder a couple of links in, and then they will work with any HDMI cable, as long as it's a reasonably good one. So I've done it myself. so that I can use any HDMI cable, unless it's just a bad cable anyway, and managed to get away with them all. Right, that's enough from me, I think, because time is running short and we've still got a couple to go, so I'm going to put it round to Gareth. So G4 XAT from G73s, everybody, and good night.
Right, evening all, again, G4XAT, thank you Jim.
Right, evening all, again.
Hang on. And change speakers, the little tiny speakers in the portable Ryde don't make for good hi-fi, so I think I'll add a stereo jack in the back to run to external speakers if I'm using it in the shack. Power supplies, well yes, it is a bit of a monster, isn't it, Martin? The beauty of that one though is it really does go from 0 to 62, I think, and it's made by LTEC. Something else I found very useful, it's a 3D printed SMA spanner, and if you try and over tighten it, the jaw's open, so you can just feel it at the point where you know it's tight enough. And I had a bit of trouble with the SMA on my potty feed this afternoon. I couldn't get a decent signal into the satellite, and it was that. I don't know how it managed it, because when I fitted it I covered it in self-amalgamating, but whatever, it was loose. Okay, 50 volt power supplies. If you're in the market for a 2 kilowatt, this is an LTEC Flat Pack 2 HE. They will adjust if you've got the Magic Gadget from 43.5 up to about 57. But once you've set them, you don't have to have the Magic Gadget. You need a PCB that plugs in the back, which you can get off eBay for about 15 quid delivered. And away it goes. Best thing is that the fan is a really quiet fan, unless you run it at 2 kilowatt. Very nice bits of gear. They are on eBay. They're round about 100 quid though, but they are very often brand new, rather than second-hand stuff in a box. Okay, nothing else from me I think for tonight, so I'll wish you all well, and thank you Dave for running the net, and good evening to you all. See you next time round. Round to you Rob, M0DTF.
Yeah, cheers Gareth. M0DTS and BATC Net. So this is for duals. So at the moment what I use is this is the 2 meter driver stage, or my original 2 meter PA I was using for TV, which I will still be using when I'm portable. So this has got an RD06 device on the input down at the bottom left. There's one amplifier stage there tuned for 146, and that generates, it's got about 20 odd dB of gain, and that generates about 100 milliwatts of clean digital TV on 146. And then that feeds into an RD70 device, which is also tuned up for 146.5, and that also has 20 odd dB of gain, so your 100 milliwatts gets up to like 10 watts quite easily. So that's basically how I got the drive level to test with this amplifier, the big amplifier. I need about 50 milliwatts or something like that to drive it, I think. So what I'm going to probably do is in the shack, because the big amplifier I'm building up here, so this one is going to go outside. That one's going to go outside in the box at the bottom of the mast, remotely controlled and monitored and things. So I'll need 50 milliwatts to get to that outside, whereas at the moment I don't even have an amplifier outside. It all has to be done from indoors. So I've got about 4 or 5 dB of cable loss to get down to transmit anything on digital TV from home. So it hasn't been very practical in the past. So this is going to sort out my SSB and FM on 2 meters. I should have decent power to the antenna. But it also gives us easy potential for doing digital TV at home rather than having to have loads of stuff strapped together in the shack. So should be a lot better. So yeah, that's the arrangement anyway. So I'm using a Pluto which gives 0 dBm out on 146, or maybe a bit less than that, I can't quite remember. But it does drive the amplifier up to about half a watt. The RD06 and the RD70 in series on the end of the Pluto gives us about half a watt, something like that, which was way too much to drive this bigger amplifier. So yeah, I used to have outside, instead of this, I used to have a microwave modules 2 meter amp, but the relays in that are long gone for repeatability. So this has been on the shelf for about 2 years, and I noticed Dave FRE's webpage, and the comments were very similar. He'd had the kit from Enigma Shop, the version 1 kit, for a while as well before he built it. So mine's been probably a year and a half, I think, I bought the kit. So I had to mod it to add the PTT. So yeah, that's the little switch inside there which I've added. If I focus in on that, where's my monitor gone? Yeah. So yeah, that's just the little 2 transistor switch which pulls down the bias, which is fed in through the balun there. So that just pulls that down to ground to stop it transmitting. Hopefully that should be good enough. The Arduino will control everything. Need to tidy up this bit here. I'll probably make a single board with all them bits on, I think, on there, something like that. Anyway, but yeah, the fan on the side there keeps it lovely and cool. So really happy with that case. It worked out really good. It's cheaper than buying a 2U box to put it in, and it happened to already have some of the parts inside. So, yeah. The power supply I'm using, which is in the heap of mess over here, is also an LTEC, but a very old LTEC in comparison. So this has got, lots of connectors on the back. Not a great deal of information, but that's what that one was. If that's going to focus, here's the C920C focusing. Not going to focus, is it? Anyway, that's I can't remember what the part number was. SMPS 1000 anyway. So that's my 50 volt one, but there's a trick inside there. Them ones, you have to add one 10k resistor onto one of the pins on one of the chips. Just by fluke I found this, and you hear a click, and it goes into 28 volt mode. Just by the flick of it, basically you put a resistor in and one switch, and it jumps between 2 different output modes. So that was just a fluke find. I don't think anyone's ever documented it. But you can basically just switch straight between 28 volts and 48 volts. So that was pretty good. Right. I also have the 4 meter. Okay. Yeah. 4 meter version. New to update Arduino to the Pico. Nah, not yet. I don't think my amplifier needs 80 megahertz clock and things like that. I don't think so, no. That's a bit excessive. Down on the floor in the heap of stuff, down here, which is gathering pace, unfortunately. That over here is the 77s amplifier project that I've got on the go, which I built and then have used, but I had to steal the power supply out of that, the 50-volt power supply. So there's that there. That's the HF amplifier, which has got the scanner on it. That's the Russian HF amp down there, which has got the 1.2 kilowatt device on, which I've never really made much use of. So yeah. Anyway, that's it. So that's where we're at. So that's the next amp project to box up, is the big 1.2 kilowatt thing there, because that does nice and clean 2 meter stuff. So there we go. Right, let's go back to the other camera that doesn't show as much mess in the shack. Try and keep that out of shot, but it's absolute tipping here at the moment. When you know what it's like when you're on building things. So yeah, the HFE amp will do. I don't know what it'll do on TV, but it'll do quite a bit. On 29 megs, 6 meters. I think it does about 100 watts or thereabouts. 100 watts of TV at quite clean output. 4 meters, I can't remember what it does, but I haven't really used it there. So there we go. Yeah, I saw you guys had a 16F886, Dave. Yeah, I'll just stick with the Arduinos. I quite like the Arduino. It just makes life easy. Just plug the USB port in, just program it, and it's kind of, I don't know, just convenient, I think. As long as you buy them in bulk, you don't buy a genuine one or one on its own. The little Arduino boards is okay. So no, I'm not supporting Arduino really. So it's going to be a very similar circuit to what I've got on the 2.4 gig amp, which I showed last week. I have the same display module because I bought like 5 of them when I bought them, the little 1.8 inch TFT. Why do I get that? Okay. So yeah, them little display modules, so I'll put one of them on. But both the amps will have the serial data over twisted pair back to the shack for feedback. The PTT will be hardwired, so it won't be too laggy. So there we are. Right, I think that's it. What else was I going to say? No, nothing else on my notes here, so I will say 7.3. No, nothing else to oh yeah, I'll stick this on anyway, but Terry kindly sent us, as we're working on the KM upgrade and things like that, Terry sent us a bit of merchandise from KM, so got a little mug there. And a pen too. I'll have to start using that. So yeah, very cool. Hopefully won't be too long now. We're still working on it in the background. There's a lot going on KM, but should be back on before too long. You know how long things take though. There's a lot of rebuilding to do. Right, 7.3 all, and we shall see you next week. So I think that's back round to Dave now. GKQ M0DTS on the BATC Net.
M0DTS and the BATC Net. GKQ. Okay. Yeah, all very interesting stuff. Mike, I think, yeah, I'm pleased you mentioned that you thought the power supply was different. There seemed to be a number of different internals for the same external output. So that is the 27.2 volt power supply from the guy in Holland, and I emailed him today and he said he has a number of different versions. So I think Noel and I may well end with different versions from the one you've got. I forgot to mention the other thing is I did some work on Portsdown 4 to sort out some problems people were having with Pluto. So she'll probably release both the Portsdown 2020 and the Portsdown 4 release this weekend. I'll just Microsoft seeing the power supply again. Let's see if I can. So the mains input is up here, the output shielding over here, but the thing I noticed that was different from most of the ones I've found on the internet is the two big smoothing capacitors, the 450 volt ones, are down here at the corner of the board, not in the middle of the board. So I think it is different from all the images I've seen on the internet, Mike. Anyway, I will try and trace out the circuit and sort out how to get it up to 28 volts. Well, thanks very much for all for coming on. Tony, I've just spotted your can you come on? Of course you can. So I will effectively close the net now, except for Tony G0AZQ, who will come up briefly. Oh, as long as he likes, actually. And a message for you, Tony. There will be enough tuners when they arrive. There is going to be no waiting list. So when the DVB-T tuners arrive, there will be enough. So don't worry about it. Right. G0AZQ to take it from GHGKQ and the BATC Net. Good night all.
Well, we're taking current, and hopefully I've got some audio left, which I have, so I'll kill that. Okay, I didn't think that you'd have got the email so quickly there, Dave, so that message just got through, and here I am, and hopefully everything is working okay. And this is known as what is known as an LDHS, which is lockdown hairstyle. Anyway, most interesting what's been going on tonight, and we'll look forward to other bits and pieces that go forward with DVB-T and other things that happen. And I'll have to, good evening Rob, I'll have to get one of those signs. I can put it probably up on the roof up there and have a flashing sign with my call sign, or shall I put it on the loft hatch over there? We'll sort something out. No, it would be better off over the door. Okay, 7-3 all, and back to you, Dave, for a report as to whether we are actually working okay. G8K GKQ G0.
G0AZQ, G8GKQ, yeah, that was good. Tony, no problems at all. Audio was probably lower than mine, but I gather mine is too high. Anyway, good to see you. And yeah, it will be interesting when the DVB-T stuff gets going. Good night all, G8GKQ.